Hey everybody, welcome back to TNT Gaming. We are playing Astroneer, and today we have a very special episode. We've jumped into creative mode, and we are going to be looking at the vehicles that are available here in Astroneer. Now, the game calls these Rovers, and that's what all the kind of the land vehicles are considered Rovers, except the Buggy. I mean, it's still considered a Rover, but it's under the Scout class. So, and you can actually see where it says Scout class activities, and then, you know, that's kind of really the only one that's got like a little special moniker there. Anyway. So we'll start down here at kind of the smallest of them. This is also the cheapest and the first or easiest to unlock and uses some of the easier resources. This is 1,000 bytes and it is the tractor. And what's nice about the tractor is it comes with a built-in seat. Now the tractor again is 1,000 bytes and it does have an internal battery. So if you see right here, the little spot right here, that is where you would put a battery. It does have to have some kind of power source, as all of them do. Now it has a tier 2 slot right here in the front, and you can attach like a battery pack, one of the small batteries, or a generator, like a small generator, which is actually kind of nice to have. And when you're in this, if you have a small generator on the front, using, depending on which side it's on, your C and V keys for the PC, or your left and right bumper for, I think PS4 does this, I know Xbox will, your left and right bumpers will actually activate it. So if it's in this slot right here, it would be your right bumper or V. If it's in this slot, it would be your left bumper or C, and that would turn that generator on and on to go ahead and charge this battery up. Now, another thing that you can do, and it kind of eliminates the ability to use the C and V keys or your bumpers, is you make a medium storage, one of the little flat things. You can put that on the front here, and then you could put like your battery or your printer, I'm sorry, not your printer, your generator on there. And what's nice is if you have one of these, and let's say you've gotten 1,000 bytes or whatever, and you've made one of these early on in the game, you can make one of those for a couple resin, throw that on there, throw a medium storage on there, throw the small generator, and then put some organic, and it will automatically pull the organic into the generator and just keep it running. The problem is you can't just turn it on and off by using the C and V keys. So that is what that is. And then moving on down to this one, this is the trailer, which is 1,500 bytes. So for both of them, it would cost you 2,500 bytes. But again, they're relatively cheap to make. I mean, 2 aluminum for this one, and an aluminum and a compound for this one. Now, this one's nice because these do actually hook together. You see, you can use the cable plug. Let me get turned around here so I can actually see it. So the cable plug, these do attach together, and you can drag up to 3 trailers with this right here. Now, again, the more you're carrying, the slower you're going to be, and it might drain your battery faster too. These will actually transport power through them. But one of the nice things, and this is true for all the vehicles, is as long as you're close and you see I'm kind of tethered to it, it will provide oxygen, and while you're driving it, it will provide oxygen. Now, there's no way to really add a seat and a power unit to the tractor right here, or the trailer, I'm sorry, the trailer right here, so you've got to have a tractor at least, or something else to kind of drag this with. But it is a nice little addition. Again, it's cheap, it's 1,500 bytes, so early game, and you can add stuff to it. You see there's a tier 2 slot here as well. So this and this, 2,500 bytes, 3 aluminum and a compound, and you've got a nice mobile system so that you can go out, gather resources, that kind of stuff. Now, anytime you get on a vehicle, I would always suggest grabbing a quartz and making a beacon so that if you get out far, or you've got some resources or whatever, you can drop a beacon. What I like to do is if I get far away from the base, as soon as I start to kind of lose sight of where that emblem is right there and I can't see it anymore, I'll drop a beacon so that I can kind of find my way back. So these two kind of go together. You'll often, build one and then the other. The tractor is nice because it does make you mobile. It does kind of get you moving around. But then moving on down is the Buggy. Now the Buggy is the fastest of the vehicles. You see it also has an internal battery right here. It's got a tier 1 slot on both sides and a tier 2 slot here, but this is meant for the seat, okay? So the Buggy itself is the same as the trailer. It is 1 compound and 1 aluminum. However, it is also 1,500 bytes, but you also have to have the seat, and that's another 2 compound. The downside to this, all right, kind of the negative to the Buggy is there are no cable slots, all right? So you see on here, we have the cable plugs. There's none of that available on the Buggy. It is a great scout vehicle. If you're on a different planet, or you're even on this planet, you want to be able to go out and search for things. For instance, seems like I could see one of the gateway portals from here. I might not be able to see it right now. Anyway, there it is. So if you're wanting to go and just kind of scout that out down there, it's good for that. The bad problem is there's no storage. There's absolutely zero storage. You're going to have to rely on basically your backpack. And then again, there are just 2 tier 1 slots. So it's not even like the tractor where you have a tier 2 slot and you could add a medium storage and then load it up with, say, organic and a generator. You can't do that. Again, the same keys will work. So if you were to throw, say, a generator on the right side, you could use your V or your bumper and activate that, turn that on and off to fill the internal battery. Again, it does require the use of a seat, and that's the only way to get in and out of it, or to drive it basically. So the seat again is removable. I'm actually not a big fan of the buggy. There's no way to haul anything with it. It is quick, it is zippy, and it's built more for some kind of off, roading, and it will get places that the tractor will not because of its suspension and the way that it's set up. It can actually go almost up a straight wall. I mean, it can really climb. So this mountain over here, you can actually climb this mountain over here pretty easily with it. But even if you get there and you find something, there's no way to bring it back. There's not even a tier 2 slot for anything such as research items, or there's no cable plugs to drag a trailer with you. So it's good and it's sporty and it's quick, but it's not good for bringing anything back. So anyway, moving on down, we are coming to the medium rover. Now you can see next to the big brother, the large rover, it is a little less than half the size. It has a single tier 3 slot, and this can hold 1 tier 3 item, or it can hold a seat and then a power generation item. And again, it has a tier 2 on the front and the back, so it can act as both the driving component of something as well as a trailer. Now the cost for this is in bytes is 3750, so it's 3,750 bytes, and it is 2 plastic and a rubber. So it's a little bit further into the game because you do have to get to making the chemistry lab so that you can make the plastic and the rubber. I don't typically use that or to use the medium rover. When I'm getting to this point, I pretty much just hold out and use the large rover, and mostly just because once I'm to that point, I'd rather just save up a little more and get the large rover because it holds more. It's just, you're capable of doing more. Again, like all the other ones, you are on oxygen when you're tethered to it. But you can see you could add this here. You could put power generation units on the front. You could do a medium storage and power generation units. And then this will actually carry, you can actually put this here and drag a large loaded large rover or 3 medium rovers with one of these. So if you have a good power generation, the thing about the rovers is they eat through batteries quick, so you've got to have good power generation, but they actually haul quite a bit. Now there's other attachments that you can add to it, such as the paver or the drill mods, things like that. You can add the crane to it. Like if you built another one, you could add a crane to it. The downside is it only has 1 tier 2 slot here in the front, as opposed to the large rover that has a tier 3 that offers you 2 of the tier 2 slots. So that's it. I mean, it's a good little kind of early-ish, mid-ish vehicle that you can get on, and you can, like I said, you can put a power generation unit on the back of this and then basically make another one, but it's kind of expensive as far as 3,700 bytes, 3,750 bytes, and then the 2 plastic and the rubber, which are not expensive themselves to make, but you have to get further on in game. Now finally, moving on down here to the last one, we have the large rover. Now this is probably my favorite vehicle in the entire game. It's just very, very versatile. It acts as both the main component or the driving component as well as a trailer. So once you have it unlocked, it is kind of pricey. It is 5,000 bytes to unlock it. You also have to have the chemistry lab because you have to make the rubber and aluminum alloy. It takes 2 of those. Now, aluminum alloy is just aluminum and copper, and there's no gases involved, so you don't have to necessarily have the atmospheric condenser, but you do have to have at least the chemistry lab, 5,000 bytes, aluminum, copper, and rubber and plastic are pretty easy. They're made with a combination of organic and compound and resin and carbon, I believe, to make both the rubber and the plastic. I can never remember which is which without actually looking at the chemistry lab. but it does offer a single seat or 2 single seats, or the triple seat, which if you're playing in multiplayer mode, this is actually a good way to go. If there are 3 of you that are playing, you could do it for 2, because 2 of these single seats are going to take up the same amount of space as a triple seat. Now, again, to make it, it is 2 plastic and 1 compound, so not really expensive, but again, you have to have the chemistry lab, so it's a little bit, but if you're making the large rover, you've obviously got the chemistry lab, and it is good for multiplayer when you're using the large rover seat. I just prefer the regular rover seat, or if it's just me and one other person, 2 single rover seats next to each other. Now, if you are in a multiplayer situation and you have either this seat or 2 of the regular rover seats, the first person to get in is the driver. Okay, so if there's 2 or 3 of y'all that are playing, the first person to get in is going to be the driver. Now, if the driver gets out, it's going to go to whoever was next. That's going to be the driver at that point. So just keep that in mind. I've played with people and I've been driving and then jumped out to, you know, to gather something or to check something or to get something, and then boom, they've taken over as the driver. So that is something to keep in mind. Now, my favorite setup for the rover, depending on what I'm doing, is typically the seat here and then an RTG in this slot right here, and then a storage unit here, a storage device here, and then just decked out depending on what is going to be, you know, what the purpose of it at that point is, if I'm gathering scrap or if I'm kind of, you know, going around looking for resources. Now, this has, again, an internal battery. All of them but this tractor, or I'm sorry, this trailer, have internal batteries. And I'm going to tell you right now that it will drain that battery, the internal battery, very, very quickly. So you definitely have to have some kind of power generation item. You can't just charge it up on the base and take off, which you could do with the tractor, but again, it's going to burn down. Trailer you can't, and obviously the Buggy you can't, because there's no cable plugs on the Buggy whatsoever. Again, this is my favorite because you can add, once you get this kind of decked out, you can add a bunch of different things, and it gives you a lot of variety. It can carry or can pull 3 more large rovers as trailers. So it gives you the ability to really drag a lot and to gather a lot of resources. So in just a second, I'm going to come back. I'm going to show you what these look like all decked out, but I wanted to kind of give you an overview of each one of them as they sit and the resources that are needed in order to build each one and how many bytes they were. So in just a second, we're going to come back and I'm going to show you what they look like kind of built up. Okay, everybody, we are back. So I've got each of the items kind of set up. So we're going to start back here at the tractor, and this is kind of what I started. So we can take this medium platform and stick it on the front, or we can actually run this, just take the generator here, and if I jump in and I use my V key, it will turn the generator on and off, and that'll actually fill up the internal battery. Now, another thing, like I was saying, we can do is put this on here, and let's move this back over here. And now I'm not able to turn the generator on and off anymore, as you can see. But if I turn this on, it'll actually pull these items. But this does give me more storage space. Now I could obviously take this and put this back here as well, and it will continue to provide power to the tractor itself. I could put another one on the front. It'll give me more storage space. So that's really where this comes in handy. I can add more trailers with more storage. And I can also, you know, put something like this here and then take, say, one of these medium style. And again, the medium style is a little bit further in the game. It's not early game stuff. But again, give me more storage. So that's kind of where the tractor is very beneficial. Early game, a total of 2,500 bytes to make, or to learn the tractor and the trailer, 2 aluminum, an aluminum and a compound. And you've got this right here, a couple resin to make this, 1 more compound to make this. So it's pretty cheap. It's early on. It's early game stuff. And it's easy to make, and it's very, very helpful because it gets you mobile. It gets you the ability to kind of leave the base without having to tether everywhere you're going. It does provide oxygen. Now, you can't tether off of it unless, of course, you add an oxygenator here and then tether off the oxygenator, but that seems kind of counterproductive. Now, you see as it ran out, it just pulled one of the organics straight off of this, which is nice. Now, we can also put this back here. Now, we're going to move on down to the Buggy. Again, there's no cable plug, so we can't add any kind of trailer to it. We can't add any kind of extra, you know, additional storage or anything, so it just is what it is. It is very, very zippy, though. Just drive around real quick. and it handles really well also, but it's just, there's no additional storage. So I would rather go a little slower in the tractor, but have the additional storage. Another thing is when you get out, its exiting and entry points are kind of odd. Now it has, again, 2 tier 1 slots, and I've got the generator over here. I filled up the internal battery. I filled up this external battery as well. And I do actually like putting a battery on this if I have extra batteries to use. So that'll help, you know, keep this battery charged. But this is the Buggy. Again, I'm not a big fan of it. I don't see a lot of the benefit of the Buggy over, say, the tractor or even one of the Rovers, because again, there's no storage. Moving on down to the medium Rover, also something I don't typically use. Early and mid game, I use the tractor, and then once I get a chance, I move to the large Rover, and I just stay with the large Rover. The tractor is cheap enough and easy enough to make because it's made in the small printer that you can make them on multiple planets. It's not expensive. The resources aren't hard to get. They're not hard to make. Or I'll make it here, and because it fits in a tier 1 slot, I'll keep it on my backpack. I'll put it on storage, take it with me, unpack it, boom. I've already got some kind of mobile system on another planet. So both the tractor and the trailer are made in the small printer. The Buggy and the medium Rover are made in the medium printer, and the large Rover is made in the large printer. So right here, we can actually take this, and you're gonna have some kind of power generation. So whether you're using a generator, and you can see it's actually pulling from this battery now, we can actually charge up the internal battery. We can also take this, and we can put it here as well. And so if we get in this and we start driving around, this isn't nearly as fast as the Buggy. So let's turn this off. I want to show you, this thing actually drains kind of quickly. So if we're driving, it might not, because I'm in creative, it might not actually drain the battery at all. But the batteries on this Rover and the large Rover drain rather quickly, so you need to keep in mind some kind of continual power store or power generation. So that is the medium. Now, something that you can do if you want a small form factor as far as the vehicle that you're driving, but you want extra storage, is you can put the seat up front. It looks kind of goofy, and you can take one of these and stick it here. Now you see this is one of the large storages, and you can actually put this right here and then put like this on the back, or even one of these up here. So you can actually add quite a bit more storage to this, but it's kind of a goofy way to drive, and I'd rather just use the large Rover. So moving on down to the large Rover, this is typically how I keep the large Rover set up. That is with the seat and then the RTG. I keep a drill strength 3 in the paver. Now the drill strength 3 would allow me to drill through really any surface on any planet. I skip straight to it. I save up the bytes. I don't bother with the 1. I don't bother with the 2. I go straight to the 3 because this is late game stuff. This is typically towards the end of the game when I'm getting to the point where I'm going to start unlocking all the planets and really going and just gathering as many resources as I can. This is what I use, the drill strength 3 and then the paver. I have a large storage here, and I have 2 of the medium canisters, 2 of the medium storage silos, another large storage, and then 4 of these. And I keep these here instead of these. Now, you could do this, but it's honestly, when you're in this, we'll move all this stuff back around. When you're driving in this and you're actually going, it gets kind of hard to see. Now here it's not so bad because I'm out in the open, but if let's see, I'll turn this on. And I'll just go down here like this. And you use the control, like your camera controls, to look around. Now, you see how tight that camera gets? It's hard to look around. You start adding a lot of these medium storage and it gets even more difficult to look around. So I'm going to cut this off and jump out. And the reason that I put the canisters on here, you see that one's already a little over half full and this one hadn't started filling, is you've got to have some kind of soil in order for the paver to work. So the drill will gather the soil and the paver will put it back down, just like if you're using the flattening tool. I'm in creative. Like this, the same way as if you're using this flattening tool, it's going to do the same thing. Okay, it's just going to basically make you a nice flat roadway. And so when you're digging down, it's just a great way to do it. And that's why I have the canisters up there. So, and that's the kind of the way that you can see. It gets kind of hard if you have too many of the medium silos. It gets really hard to see. But this is, you know, it's a personal preference thing. This is how I keep it set up. The 2 canisters will allow me typically enough soil to cover anything that I need to cover. There are some planets that as you get into the planet, there's some big gaps between the different layers inside. And having the 2 canisters kind of guarantees that you're not going to run out of soil before you reach the bottom and fall off. So that's the way I keep mine set up. That's why I keep it set up. And then as I'm gathering, what's nice is if I'm drilling down in there and I start running into resources, it'll just automatically put them into the storage right here. And that's a nice way of doing it. I'm gonna have another tutorial kind of on scrapping, and I use 2 rovers. Basically take this off, add another large rover as a trailer, and then put the extra large scrapper on there, and then this can go on the back of that one and it'll just throw all the scrap on there. But that's kind of this is pretty much how I keep mine set up on each of the planets. I actually pack it, or I build enough or take enough of the resources to go up there and make one. But this is it. These are the vehicles. We have, again, the tractor and the trailer, the buggy, the medium rover, and the large rover. And this is the way that I keep them set up. But that's what each one of these do. This is kind of the way I look at it. If you have any different ideas, if you have any different thoughts, what's your favorite vehicle? Am I wrong in thinking that the large rover is my favorite vehicle? Well, let me know in the comments below, but I hope that you found this helpful, and maybe this will help you from wasting bytes or wasting resources on a vehicle that maybe you don't need. Anyway, until next time, this is TNT Gaming, and we will see you then.